Today in this screencast, we're going to look and review what a real-world problem is in research. First of all, we need to know what is a real-world problem in research. Well, it's a specific problem or an issue that exists in the real world. It's out there, and it doesn't seem to have a solution or an answer which is working. And that is why the researchers want to find out more about it. So it becomes their topic of their research. So how can you identify the real-world problem when you're reading an academic article? Well, first of all, the real-world problem has to be specific enough and narrow enough to be able to be researched. Remember, when we do research, we're looking for the cause or the effect, and usually the causes and the effects. If a problem is too general, then there might be too many options, too many variables, too many possible causes for the problem, and we really won't be able to find a clear answer. So let's take a look at some problems. World hunger. Well, that's huge. And if we try and research that, we're going to be looking at a lot of different things. What context, what time, what place, what population. It's a huge, huge topic. It's too general, it's too big to be the real world problem. If we look at the next one, obesity among Chinese women between the age of 20 and 30 after childbirth. Well, we're dealing with obesity, that's a problem. We're dealing with Chinese women, so we've defined the gender. We're looking at an age and an additional specific condition. So we're looking at a specific context, a specific time or place. Time is an age or time after childbirth, place China, and of course our population, which again, Chinese women age 20 to 30 after childbirth. So we can very easily begin to say, okay, maybe all of those egg rolls when they're after between 20 and 30 are putting on weight or whatever it may be. Again, the environment, it's like world hunger. It's too big. Driving and drinking. Well, here we see here, the coup de time, the colon. Again, drinking and driving is way too big, but we can narrow it by giving it a specific context or place or age. Teens, well, teens that are going to be driving are going to be from the age of getting a license, which is 16 or 17, up until the age of 19, so we've narrowed down the age. Place, rural communities, we've taken them out of the cities, and we've placed them in the United States. So again, what we've done is try to narrow it. So our real world problem here is that we've got teens in these rural communities who are driving and drinking, and they pose a danger to themselves and others. So again, we want to look for a specific context, we want to look for a specific time or place, and a specific population. So how do we do that? What do we need to look at in a research article? Well, we start from the title. We look for the topic, which is often the problem or the issue, and we look for the context or the population. We use the abstract and the introduction because many times they mention a very general problem like world hunger or drinking and driving, but then we have to look for something more specific. And one of the things that can help us is when we see the current or the present study, and then it's going to be more narrow what it's going to look at. We can also look at research questions because research questions have to define very, very carefully the various conditions. In other words, the context, the population. So let's look at two titles. Can you talk and drive safely at the same time? So here, you, well, who's the you? We know the condition, talk and drive safely. an examination of gender differences. Okay, so men and women. In driving performance of young drivers. Okay, so we're not only looking at men and women, we're looking at young drivers. And they'll probably give us the age in the article, probably under the age of 30. Observed while conversing with a passenger or on a mobile phone. So we have two conditions, talking to someone in the car or talking to someone on the phone. The next title, sleep disorders, sleepiness, and near-miss accidents. So we can see what are the conditions of these near-miss, almost accidents. They have to do with sleep and problems with sleep. And then among long-distance highway drivers, well, people who drive a long distance, maybe truck drivers, maybe probably professional drivers, and in the summertime. So it's giving a specific time period. And then we can look at the abstract. So let's take a look at this abstract. Relationships between the preferred type of alcoholic beverage and various drinking driving behaviors and attitudes were examined in a representative sample of 1,000 licensed U.S. drivers interviewed in a national telephone survey. So if we look, what's the problem? Drinking and driving behaviors. And it's looking at U.S. drivers, a representative sample. So we're going to have a variety of ages, men and women, and the type of alcoholic beverage. Are they drinking beer or drinking something else? And then we can see those who preferred beer typically drank to higher levels of intoxication, were more likely to drive after drinking, and considered driving while intoxicated to be less serious. So again, what's another issue? That people tend to think that if they drink beer, they're not quite so intoxicated, not quite so drunk. That's a problem. And that's a problem we have to issue. So people who think that they can drink lots of beer and still get into a car are wrong. And how do we address that issue? So now we have reviewed various different issues related to the real world problem, and I hope you can go out there and find it when you're reading the article. So you remember, we're going to go back. Can I go back here? What are you going to pay attention to? The context, the specific time or place, and a specific population.